Hi, Anti-Society! Welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we're watching episodes 221 and 222 of Bleach. So in the last episode, we got to see Hisagi's fight, which was just like a really cool fight. I mean, you could definitely tell that they put a little bit more into the animation. His senpakuto is really cool. I think that he had some interesting insights in terms of us just kind of seeing the impact that Tosin had and all that kind of stuff. We also got to see that the captains are going to get involved in this fight now. They've been on the sidelines a little bit. We haven't seen them properly get into the fight, but now that we've taken care of those like first four Arrancar that were protecting the tower or trying to break the towers, we're getting into some of the more powerful adversaries. So I definitely think that we are going to get into maybe some interesting fights. I'm not sure exactly because we've seen a lot of the captains fight before. I feel like the fights that we just saw with like Hisagi and Kira was like a way of showing some people that we haven't seen fight yet. Even with like Yamichika, like we didn't get to see his Zanpakuto like fully work previously, so there were things that we were learning about those characters through the fights that were happening. So I don't know how much we are going to see of the fights coming up or like how important those fights are going to be in terms of learning about characters, learning about the antagonists that we're going up against, progressing the story, or even how focused we're going to be on one fight or another. But we're kind of getting into this kind of second part of this fight that is going on. I feel like it's going to be like this weird middle ground because we're like not into like the real fights. Like I feel like we're not going to get into like the top three Espada. We certainly aren't going to get into like Gin, Tosen, or Aizen. So I feel like it's going to be this weird in between vibe of just we're not quite into the like really hype fights yet. We certainly haven't gone back to Ichigo and Ulquiorra, who are just like, I guess we're gonna come back to that, the fact that they're fighting off in the background somewhere. We'll see if Visored ends up showing up to the fight now. I don't know when they're going to get involved, but lots of fights just sort of being set up for the next little bit. So let's just get into episode 221. In three, two, one, go. Remember, I didn't silence my phone. We're recapping all the way back, huh? About to be. I mean, yeah, I guess we're kind of slowly getting into the whole greater fight that's happening. We'll have to see if any of the other pillars get destroyed. I don't mean to yawn. I feel like I'm just like sitting here and I don't have anything to say. It's very early in the morning, I'm gonna be honest. It really bothers me that the plaid pattern on their clothes doesn't move with the fabric. Not important to the plot, but it is a thing that bothers me. Yeah, Komamura did a number on that Arrancar. I would also like to know the backstory. Three pillars left. No pressure. He's standing up. The serious fighters are getting involved now. I like the Shinsui and Yukitake just like fight together all the time, even though they're captains of like different squads. They're just like buds. I appreciate it. What's up? All the tension. It doesn't seem like it. Suì-Fēng's like, she doesn't pull any punches, does she? I mean, Gain's here. Good luck. A brief calm before the fights break out. They going up against Stark? Hmm. That's a very Shinsui thing to say, to be like, can we just not fight? See? They have similar vibes. Does Matsumoto want to pick a fight with the Espada? Because it looks like it. Oh, she got this. I believe in her. Oh, I didn't know we were getting to some Espada fights. I'm excited. Interesting blade. Probably a lot lighter though. I wonder, would you have to give up strength though for a blade that's like hollow in the middle? I know I'm trying to think of like the physics around a weapon used in an anime, so it's probably a futile battle, but I wonder if it would you'd have to give up strength for the sake of speed. We're only halfway. Sometimes these episodes go by really fast, and other times there's like times where I forget how much time has passed. I thought that would have been like a let's end the episode moment in true cliffhanger fashion. Toshida's putting in a lot of work for like not a lot of return. Just saying. He's swinging around his sword a lot, and the spada is not. I love how focused Matsumoto is during fights. Like she's kind of like laid back, kind of comedic relief a lot of the time. But then when she's fighting, she's so focused that I love the contrast of like, what she takes decides to take seriously. Obviously, she's also good at, trash talking, but you can always tell a comedic relief moment's coming when this music starts playing. It's Moto's just hanging out. Oof. It's a good point. Definitely a good Zanpakuto for someone who has to fight against multiple opponents. Because it's literally a blade that can be in multiple places simultaneously. Are they combining their attack? Good transition. Just appreciate animation for a second. You okay? It's true. I honestly don't know how much Suì-Fēng cares about her lieutenant. Oof. Close one, though. It's true. Suì-Fēng does not care about being, like, loved by her squad or appreciated by her squad. She just wants to be respected. There's a very or like be at least the most powerful. There's a difference. I don't know. It's a little early in the fight for her to win. I have a feeling that that particular Arrancar will bounce back a little bit. I feel like I didn't say a whole lot in that. I feel like I didn't need to, you know? Some fights that we knew were coming. Nobody's really, you know, gone full out yet. I think it was mostly just set up for the next episode. Or next few episodes, I assume. But I also feel like there's not a lot of like at least right now, it doesn't have the same like character resonance of the previous fights. Like I feel like the lieutenants had more like story along with their fight. I mean, and these fights could shift to that, um, which has happened before, where Bleach just kind of set up a standard fight and then it shifted into something more character based. Ooh, we're learning about Sanpakto. I feel like I don't have a whole lot to talk about in that episode because I do feel like it's kind of setting up everything that's going to happen. Like, I feel like we saw this, a similar thing in Huecomundo when all the captains showed up to like bail out Ichigo and his friends, where it was like, hey, so we've just seen the lieutenants struggle and try to figure out how to win this fight. Here's what happens when we introduce a captain to the same conflict with the same adversaries. So I feel like a lot of that was like, okay, reintroducing that the captains are also part of this fight, bringing in some new adversaries for them and being like, hey, this is how powerful captains are. Like, this is what they're capable of and how easily they can step into a conflict with fighters that seem to be at a really high level when you're comparing them to, Ichigo or even the lieutenants, even though they did a really good job. So I don't want to like talk down to the lieutenants like they didn't hold their own against those Arrancar. They did. But we are getting some of the Espada getting involved, which I didn't expect to happen this early on. I was expecting that to be something that we got into later in the arc. Like, I really felt like they were going to draw this out a little bit, but then I also think there aren't a whole lot of episodes left in this part of the arc before getting into the last part, so I guess we have to speed things up a little bit when we all know that we want to get to like Gin and Tosen and maybe some Aizen. I really hope that somebody fights Aizen because it's been so long since anyone has tried and they did not do well. I know that Toshiro probably wants a rematch, but I do feel like this was really just a let's have a little win moment before things probably get a little bit chaotic. So I feel like the next episode we're really going to get into like the real, part of these fights. We kind of moved around to all of the different fights really quickly. We didn't really focus on a lot of them until Suì-Fēng's at the end. So it looks like we're going to be seeing that one a little bit more. They're setting it up being like, hey, she defeated him so easily. I'm like, there's something coming. There's something coming that's going to make her need to put a little bit more effort into this fight. She's also a very good fighter though, so I'm sure she'll be okay. I feel like we're going to get into some of that, probably some of the like released forms of the actual Arrancar. I don't know how much of the Espada fights we'll focus on right now. Like they might have just set those up and then we'll get to them later. I mean, we set up Ichigo versus Ulquiorra and we've just like left that for right now. So it's entirely possible that I'm like, hey, we're getting to the Espada, and they're just kind of like setting that up so that we can like deal with these other Arrancar and we'll get to it in the last few episodes. But let's just get into episode 222 in 3, 2, 1, go. Are these the unnecessary recaps that you guys have informed me about? It's so weird that there's like a summary and then there's the opener and then they do another summary. Like there's like the stock summary that's like this and then the like more specific summary for like the episode. It's so cold here. Not like important to the whole bleach thing, but it's already getting cold in Canada. And I'm like bundled up. Ugh, I'm gonna try and not cough a lot either. I feel like I haven't really used my voice today. I'm excited to see Shinsui and Ukitake fight again because they have interesting weapons. And we didn't really get to see them fight because when they were fighting against Yamamoto, like it cut away, like we didn't fully get to see them in that fight. I'm assuming so that they can show off their cool abilities later. So I'm excited for them to like actually show off some of their skill. I feel like it's going to be put off though. I feel like them fighting Stark is going to be like something we've set up, but we're going to leave for a little while. I'm okay if I'm wrong about that though. Yes, everyone did pretty well, except poor Ikagu, because he was holding back. He could have done really well. I feel like I'm just defensive of Ikagu. Yes, please. I wonder how the one Espada, the like older man Espada, got those scars. Because there's like this implication that he's very strong, but like someone had to beat him up for him to get those scars. Just waiting for the summary to be over. I definitely feel like this fight isn't going to be as easy as Suì-Fēng seems to think it's going to be. Yep. That's one way to get free, though. If you're pinned to a wall and you can just make energy beams. Imagine calling Suì-Fēng soft, though. Kind of puts his character into perspective, doesn't it? I think if anything, though, Suì-Fēng legitimately wants to have a fair fight, though. Because she wants to prove that she's better, and she can't do that if it isn't a fair fight. Did she manage to sting him and put the, like, mark on him? When you don't want the budget to go towards this particular fight. I don't think that'll work. Oof. I'm waiting for him to prove why he's a lieutenant. Because at the moment, I don't get it. I don't know if I would call that a sense of style, but sure. Whatever makes you happy. Good luck. Oof. Ugh, the scraping. I don't love that. Uh-oh. Are the constant hits messing up her weapon? Release form? So he has a tiger form? I'm gonna guess. I don't know if this is the time to be insulting his fashion choice. You know, given that that is happening. Huh. Elephant vibes. Wouldn't have guessed that. So use your Shikai. Again, waiting for him to show me why he's a lieutenant. I assume he's strong. Otherwise, why would Suì-Fēng have him as a lieutenant? I feel like this whole fight is just comic relief, though. Like I don't know. I feel like I can't take it seriously between the jokes and the music playing. I mean, that's one way to get around having to climb with a giant body like that. Still had time to analyze them, though. I'll give it to Suì-Fēng. She's a lot more powerful than I think people give her credit for sometimes. Because it's not just like brute force, she also has like, she's strategic, right? And she's quick. Like, even Yoroichi had trouble fighting her. Maybe it's just me that sometimes forgets that she's like a good fighter. There's the moment I was waiting for. I was waiting for the proof that he deserves to be a lieutenant. Was he leading him somewhere specific then? Oof. I'm assuming that's his Shikai. That was a good choice, though. Being able to kind of distract with one move while attacking with another. I do love more hand-to-hand combat, though. Well, I don't think that's necessary. That's what you get. Who hit him? Oh, Suì-Fēng hit him. I knew the fight wasn't going to be as easy as she thought it would in the beginning. I don't know. I feel like I haven't like reacted much in these last couple of episodes. Maybe I'm just coming off the hype of Hizagi's fight. That everything else, I'm like, or I can never remember the one captain's Eva's um captain. I can never remember his name. The one that was friends with Tosin though. His fight was cool because his Bankai is like this huge like fighter thing, avatar thing that just like knocked out part of a city. So maybe just like in comparison, I'm like, okay. I agree, they're difficult to pronounce. I don't even try. Rukia. It is a very pretty Zabuto. Really feel like I didn't have a whole lot to say and talk about and react to in that. I feel like there were lots of moments when I was just watching what was happening, and I feel like part of that is because of the amount of like comic relief stuff that was happening with Omaida. Is that his name? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but his fight was just like a lot of kind of like slapstick kind of style stuff, and I feel like Suì-Fēng's fight was a lot of just kind of figuring out and negotiating around her opponent and trying to like figure out the best way to go about her strategy and stuff like that. So I feel like there wasn't a lot of like action in terms of like the actual fights. Pacing is weird sometimes with fights in shonen in general. I also feel like maybe we're lengthening out this fight a little bit because, like I said earlier, I'm like, well, we set up the Espada fights. We might not get to them. And then, we had this whole episode where we didn't see any of the Espada fights. So I feel like maybe we're lengthening out stuff a little bit so we can save the Espada fights for a little while, because it looks like the next episode we're still in this fight. So we'll see what happens. I've said it before, my thing is like 2 episodes max for a fight. We've had 1.5 basically for this one now. So I don't know. Bleach does weird things where like they'll have like the first part of one of the episodes be like ending the fight, but then like 2/3 of the rest of the episode are a new fight. So maybe we're moving on to other stuff. I want to see Matsumoto's fight. I want to see her whole thing that she's doing, fighting 3 of these Arrancar by herself, and she's determined enough that I feel like she can do it. And hopefully getting into the Espada fights, but yeah, I feel like I should have something important to say. I called Omaeda having more going on with him than it might seem. He is a lieutenant, and he is Suì-Fēng's lieutenant. So she wouldn't have picked somebody without a good reason, like without him having a lot of firepower. I know she was saying like, oh, well, you shouldn't like necessarily get along very well with some of the people that you're working with because that like kind of, I don't know, keeps you on your toes and stuff like that. So I don't think she likes him, and I think, yeah, she definitely would like have someone be her lieutenant that she didn't quite enjoy the presence of, but she would never ever pick someone who could not hold their own in a fight. So I'm sure that he has a lot of power behind him, but gosh, he talks a lot. And for Suì-Fēng's fight, I mean, I don't feel like I have a lot to say. I feel bad that I don't have a lot to say, to be honest. You know, some episodes just aren't as hype as some of the other stuff that we've been through, and I feel like there isn't like a lot of character development or like importance to these fights either, like we had with the lieutenants, where there was some character reveals and growth and stuff like that in those fights. Like the lieutenants getting involved in those conflicts, we learned about kind of who they are, what they fight for, kind of the reasoning behind or the representation of their squad through them and through how they choose to fight. Like that was super important, whereas I feel like we didn't get that necessarily with this, except with like maybe the line of like, oh, they're both part of the stealth squad, like they're both part of the stealth force. That means that they're very capable, they're stealthy, and they're fast, and kind of remembering that they are like assassins and they are good at fighting people and killing people, so keep that in mind, that is like their specialty. But I don't feel like character growth was really an important part of this fight. You can click this playlist to go and see the previous episodes in this arc, or you can subscribe. I post new Bleach episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!